Good afternoon. Today we're looking at Frank Jackson's Epiphenomenal Qualia article, and on Wednesday we'll go back to the mothership, Descartes' work on the self, which is really where all the contemporary discussion of the subject begins. So it's relatively brief what Descartes says there, and it is an article where the first time you read it, it may seem a little bit difficult. Read it many times, and you'll see that what he's saying is plain as day and extremely dramatic. Okay, so today, the main point I want to make today is we have this contrast between imaginative understanding of another person and having a scientific explanation of what's going on with them. They seem to be different things. And the point I want to make today is not just that scientific explanation tells you about what's in the world as opposed to what's in people's minds, and then you need imaginative understanding to find what's going on inside someone's mind. In order for imaginative understanding of someone else's mind to work, you have to presuppose quite a bit about what their environment is like, what their surroundings are like, what their non-mental surroundings are like. And you can only get that at the level of imaginative understanding. Scientific explanation doesn't even give you the picture that you need of people's environments for you to understand what's going on in their minds. So that's a little bit abstract. I'll try and make that very concrete. So the point about the bats and the point about the split brain patients was you can scientifically explain every last thing about the bat. You can understand scientifically exactly how the bat's sensory systems work. And all that does is make you more and more convinced that you have no idea of what the bat's experience is like. So the scientific explanation, in the case of the bat, seems to take you not towards an understanding of bat consciousness, but just to make it clear to you that bat consciousness is something you will never know about, even though your scientific understanding can be complete. And in the case of the split brain patient, we saw again that you can give a perfectly good scientific analysis of what's going on in the split brain patient, but if you ask, what is the patient experiencing when they look at the snow scene and the chicken claw and all that, you have no idea. You just don't know about their experience. And what that brings out is that, of course, in ordinary life, just when you're talking to other people ordinarily, is not as if you treat them as though they're bats or split brain patients. You take it for granted that you know what's going on with them. But what you're taking for granted there is the capacity for imaginative understanding. There is something over and above scientific explanation of what's going on with your friend. Now, Jackson, in this article that we're looking at today, gives a way of arguing that the physical world can't be all there is. His argument is almost childishly simple, but it's extremely powerful. And the key move in the argument is his definition of physicalism. Physicalism is the idea, well, there's only the physical world. There isn't anything else than the physical world. That's plain enough. As Hobbes put it, stuff is the only sort of substance. There's only the physical. So a way of making that precise is what Jackson says. All the correct information is physical information. If you know all the physical facts about your world, that's all there is to know. Right? That seems fair enough. That's a definition of physicalism. So here's his example. Suppose we have Mary, a brilliant scientist, but from birth, she's been forced to investigate the world from from a black and white room via a black and white TV monitor. Before you ask, Mary is clad from head to foot entirely in black and white. She never cuts herself. Right? She just doesn't get anything except black and white ever. But of course, even if you've only got black and white, you can have a ton of information at your fingertips. Down that black and white TV monitor comes flooding all of the knowledge that there is about the physical structure of the world. So let's suppose that Mary's very, very brilliant. And she just gets interested in the physiology of vision. She knows a lot about physics. She knows a lot about light. She knows a lot about the different kind of spectral reflectances that different surfaces has. She knows all about the electromagnetic radiation suffusing the Earth. And she gets interested in the way people's brains respond to that. She knows all about the physiology of the brain. She knows that outside her black and white room, there are people going around, looking around them, seeing electromagnetic radiation. She knows how people respond to ripe tomatoes. She specializes in the neurophysiology of vision and acquires, let us suppose, all the physical information there is to obtain about what goes on when we see ripe tomatoes or the sky, and when we use terms like red or blue and so on. So it's a very simple story, but it's quite a poignant one. And here is Mary, sitting in her black and white room, very smart, as you can see, but surrounded, did she but know it, by the blaze of colour. So although she has all this physical information, although she is never short of things to puzzle about, things to find out about the world she's in, she has some feeling that there is something missing, some sense that this black and white room, the information she's getting there, isn't all there is. So she's finding out about cell patterns in the brain. She finds out, let's say, that there's a central system in the brain, a central workspace, where all the neurons hook up, that people conjecture is the basis of consciousness. She finds out about all that stuff. She knows all about you and your brain. Here we see Mary in later years. As you can see at this point, she's got a dog. The dog is, of course, a Dalmatian. Still very brilliant, still knowing such a lot, but never seen the world of colour. So there's something missing with Mary. There's something she hasn't got. When she finds out about people going around, when she is reading about people going around, looking around their world outside her box, she can't imagine what their experiences are like. She can't begin to imagine what colour experience is like. She has no idea. And suppose the great day comes. Suppose that one day Mary steps out from her black and white world and steps into the world of colour. Will she find out anything new when she steps out and looks at the world of colour for the first time? Is she going to get any new information? Is she going to learn something when she looks at coloured flowers for the first time? Well, Jackson says it seems just obvious that she's going to learn something about the world. She's going to learn what these colours of objects are. And she's going to learn something about our visual experience of that. And so for the first time, she's going to be able to imagine what experiences other people are having when they look at the world of colour. she'll now be able to imagine having experiences of colour. She didn't have that before. She didn't know anything about what colour experience was like. And then Jackson's point is inescapable that her previous knowledge was incomplete. She had all the physical information. Any physical information that there is to have about our world, you can write it down in black and white and send it to her through the TV monitor. She gets it. She gets all the physical information. But she still managed to find out something new when she stepped outside the room. Therefore, imaginative understanding is providing her with knowledge that just wasn't there in the scientific explanation of her surroundings. There's more to her imaginative understanding than science could describe. The thesis of physicalism was that all the correct information is physical information. Once you've got all the physical information, you've got the whole story about the world. But what we've just seen is that's false. And this is not a very complicated argument. But it's just definitely false, this. Because Mary gets all the physical information in her black and white room. But there is still something she's missing. Therefore, it can't be right to say that all correct information is physical information. There's some correct information about your environment that isn't physical. Okay, that's the main point. Yep.
So, if Mary is like so intelligent, she can like stimulate the brain so that it generates the signal of its brain, right?
Yes, she could do that, couldn't she? She reads in the book, it's just as when neurons right in the area of V4 fire that people get experiences of colour. Yeah. So she says, "Okay, let's do it. Let's go for it." Bzz. Yeah. That's your point. Yeah. And then she'd get the experience of colour. Yeah. And then she'd know what the experience of colour was like. Sure. I think that's right. Yeah. That's correct. But notice that what she did there wasn't a matter of just writing down something that came in through the TV monitor. She had to do a practical exercise. If it was just a bit of physics she was learning, I mean, some of you guys do physics. How often do you have to do that thing with your brain? Yeah, you don't, right? The way you get physical information is just by reading it. Yeah? She had to do something different. It's a great idea, yeah? But she had to do something different to get that. Yeah? So it can't be just physical information. Yep. Yep.
How can we come to the conclusion that if she knows all the physical information about sight, about color, that she wouldn't be able to imagine it if we don't know what all the information is, if we don't know the extent?
Yeah, maybe she could do it after all. Yeah, because, yeah, your point is there's something about the quantity and complexity of the physical information here. We only have something kind of incomplete. Yeah. Maybe if she did have this whole story, she'd be able to imagine colour experience. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, it's worth thinking that through. The trouble is, when you think about what she's getting when she looks at colour for the first time, it's something that seems so simple. I don't quite know how to put this, but there's something about red itself that is not complex.